Book 5. Ground, Cleanse, Protect. Warnings and Protection, Light and Dark. I know that many of you purchased this book because you want to delve more deeply into your abilities, and so far it seems like I'm not moving very fast to getting you where you want to be. If you're anything like me, there'll be a huge temptation to skip chapters and get rolling on the cool stuff. I can't stress how important it is to set the proper foundation for this work. While it seems light and fluffy a lot of the time, serious problems can occur if you do not properly protect yourself. My warning is not meant to scare any of you away from psychic work. Obviously, I wouldn't write a book like this if I didn't want you to embrace all your wonderful gifts. I just want to be clear that the energetic world is not always a friendly place. Of course, there are psychic educators out there who teach that dark energies do not exist and instead are only an illusion produced by our own fears. While, of course, this may be the reality for some people, I have to respectfully disagree because it's not the experience for all of us. I don't claim to have all the answers, but upon reading their otherwise very helpful written works, I couldn't understand how I was experiencing things that quote-unquote didn't exist, or how, quote, products of my own fear could be things that had definitely never entered my consciousness before that moment. I do understand where these teachers are coming from, though. When I first started sensing energies after my illness, I only saw wonderful things. I now think of that as my rainbows and unicorns time. I still sometimes wish that I could go back to that way of sensing. It was sort of like the childhood of my abilities, when I experienced everything as friendly and the world seemed like a simple place. I think my introduction needed to be that way so I didn't get freaked out and shut out my abilities like I did as a child. At that time, I would have told you that there was no dark energies and that the non-physical world was a sunny and friendly place. My experience since then has been different and has since changed my outlook. Does that mean that seeing only positive energies means that you're lesser developed? Oh my gosh, no. Each of us has our abilities for a specific life purpose. Some people just aren't meant to see the bad stuff because it's not required for their path. You could be completely and fully realized on that path, light years ahead of the rest of us, and never see dark energy. If you do see dark things, it just means that the role decided by your soul path is something that requires you to see them. It absolutely does not mean that you are dark, or that you should be afraid. I think of it more in the same way as most of us view the physical world. Is it a safe place? That depends on where you are, or where you live, and what you do for a living. The same goes for energy. We all have jobs that go along with our particular abilities in the non-physical realms, and what we are, quote, required to sense will be different depending on what those jobs are. For example, a medium, someone who can see and speak with dead people, is often tasked with the duty of crossing lost souls over into the light, or passing along messages or information to loved ones to bring the closure that the deceased soul requires before they can cross over on their own. Obviously, this requires them to be able to communicate with and perhaps to see deceased souls. If that was their sole purpose, the worst energies this medium will face in their energetic work would be angry, confused, or insane souls. An energy worker such as myself, who works towards bringing people to their light path, and who helps clear out dark energies and entities, will necessarily have to see and sense dark things to be able to remove them. We couldn't do the work without that ability to see the dark. This is how I've made sense in my mind of this different opinion of whether or not there are dark energies. Many of you may never face a dark energy in your life. I hope that for you, if your path permits it. But since this is a general book written for all seeking their own psychic gifts, I must make sure that we all move forward safely and protect ourselves from any potential danger. The first safety tip in safely performing energy work is properly grounding yourself. Book 5, Section 1. Grounding. This is by far the most important protective activity you can do to maintain your mental health in intuitive practice. Keeping a firmly rooted base in the common reality will help you to remain clear on what is real and what is quote-unquote not real to most people. It's very easy to lose yourself in other vibrational levels and to disconnect from the common, mutually agreed upon reality. It's also very difficult to hold shielding and protection when you are not firmly centered in your own body and connected to Earth and Source. Keeping firmly grounded throughout your practice is essential to keeping a sound body and mind. What does being grounded look or feel like? Being grounded is an incredible feeling of peace, restfulness, centeredness, and calm. The mind is focused and alert while remaining firmly aware of the body and its surroundings. There's a wonderful relaxed and warm sensation in the gut and often throughout the entire body. The body may feel balanced and a little heavy. There may be the sense of a gentle hum or pulsation, almost as though you can feel your blood moving through your body. What does ungrounded look or feel like? Being ungrounded can appear in a few different ways, and the inner sensation is not far from the external appearance. Some examples follow. Spacey. This is the typical stoner hippie societal image. This person is distracted, disconnected, and spacey. The sensation is one of feeling cloudy, detached, foggy-minded, and slightly confused. This is more common in air energies. Anxiety. For some people, ungroundedness will lead to unrooted emotions and an uprising of fear. This can create a state of increased agitation that will appear and feel as though the person is buzzing. This is more common in water elements. Agitated. Other ungrounded folks become agitated and can more easily have emotional outbursts rooted in anger and frustration. This is more common in fire elements. Discombobulated. Because ground is the root of their element, earth energies will feel extremely out of sorts and spun off their axis when ungrounded. They will feel confused, lost, and unstable. How do I get or stay grounded? There's definitely no one right answer to that question. You will have to discover the means of grounding that resonates with and works best for you and your energy body. There are a number of fun visualization exercises that can help keep you grounded, and many other ways to more quickly regroup yourself after an energy practice to make sure you aren't left feeling spacey, disconnected, or vulnerable. Here are some easy ways to help ground yourself. You can use any visualization that more deeply connects you with the energy of the earth. One example of this is the growing roots exercise in the next section. You can submerge in water either your hands and feet or your whole body. Sucking on a grain or two of coarse salt, sea salt is best, but any edible salt will do. Holding or wearing black, gray, and other root chakra, such as red or brown, or grounding stones. Examples such as jet, obsidian, smoky quartz, onyx, tiger's eye, red jasper, carnelian, and so on. There's also Bach flower essences such as clematis, which does general grounding, or rescue remedy for more extreme dissociation, often accompanied by fear or anxiety. You can use essential oils in earthy smells such as pine, cedar, patchouli, lavender, and so on. Eating food is another great way to ground, especially grounding foods such as meat and root vegetables, such as chicken, beef, carrots, potato, sweet potato, radish, beets, and turnip. Drinking water or other caffeine-free liquids can help you ground as well. And so can gentle, non-rhythmic physical exercise that makes you maintain your focus on the present moment, such as yoga, calisthenics, or free weights. What sorts of things can cause me to be ungrounded? If you're trying to get grounded or already feeling a bit ungrounded, then it would be a good idea to avoid the following: sugar and sugary or sweet foods and desserts, caffeine in any form, coffee, tea, chocolate, meditation, unless you're focusing on grounding, the Bach flower essence aspen, any crystals focused on the third eye and the crown chakras such as amethyst, clear quartz, opalite, and so on, anxious or extremely emotional people who trigger you, watching the news or other fear-based television or movies, drugs and alcohol, large groups of people, especially in high anxiety environments like shopping malls and parties, sex and orgasms, and running and rhythmic physical activity that allows your mind to drift. Keeping grounded comes quite naturally for some people, especially those who are rich in the earth energies. For those who are strong in air energies, like me, it can be quite difficult to stay grounded and connected to the earth, as we're easily lost with our head in the clouds. If you're more strongly air, then it's essential that you incorporate grounding into your everyday practice. Even if you're not air energy based, frequent grounding practice is essential to staying happy and balanced, as well as safe in the energy world. The more that you practice, the easier it will become, until you can make grounding as second nature as any of your other daily chores. Experiential exercise, grounding meditation, growing roots. One of the easiest grounding visualizations to begin with is growing roots. As with all meditations, it's important that you start by finding a comfortable position and making your space conducive to meditating. If you cannot lay down and remain fully alert and awake for the duration, then try to take a seated position with your feet flat on the floor. Take a little time now to set up your space, take some quiet time, and get into a comfortable position for you before continuing with this audio recording. Good. Now that you're comfortable, I want you to gently close your eyes and take a few slow, deep breaths. Really breathe down into your belly, down into your pelvis, stretching your belly to the front, stretching your belly into your back, out to both sides, expanding that core space inside of you as you stretch and breathe. And as you exhale, just letting it all fall back. As you breathe deeply, follow your breath and sink your awareness down into your physical body. Take a moment floating in the space that you've created to allow your body to relax. Feel yourself become heavy in this restful position. Feeling the weight of your body pressing against the surface supporting you. And as you settle into this comfortable state, I want you to visualize either a single large root or a few smaller roots growing out of either the soles of your feet or down from your tailbone. Watch or feel as they spring forth from your body and begin growing down into the earth. Don't worry about them passing through physical things. Your roots are intangible and can flow easily through flooring, concrete, dirt, clay, and stone. Follow the tips of your roots with your mind as you burrow deeper and deeper into the earth's crust. In the distance, deep inside the core of the earth, you see a beautiful pocket of healing earth light. Burrow your roots over and into this light. Watch as they fan out in all directions. And then with your breath, draw that light up and into your body, breathing that healing earth light up your roots to fill your body. No matter where your roots enter your body, that light will rush in and fill your feet first. It fills the soles of your feet and your toes, your ankles. It flows in and fills your calves, your shins, your knees. Feel that light filling your thighs, your hips, your pelvis. Breathing that light in, filling your belly, your bum, your genitals. Flowing into your low back, through your organs, flowing up your back, mid-back, upper back. Filling your chest, your heart, your lungs, your breasts, your shoulders, your shoulder blades. Feel that healing earth light flow down both arms, filling the upper arms, elbows, filling your forearms, wrists, hands and fingers. Breathing that light up to fill your throat, your neck, your head, your brain, your mind, your skull. It fills your face, your scalp, your hair. When you feel ready, use your breath to give this energy motion through your body, rinsing it through, washing away any energy that isn't serving you, any stagnant areas, any pain, any discomfort, any energy you feel is no longer serving you, washes away and dissolves in the light. You can watch as the light easily washes away all your tension and fear, your worry and overthinking. It removes all blockages and stagnation, and then flows back down your roots to the earth, where those energies can be cleansed and transformed back to light. See all of the cleansing light rinse back down your roots to the earth, leaving your body feeling clean and refreshed. When you finish draining out the last of the rinse water light, then I want you to once again tap your root tips back into that pocket of healing earth light, and once again breathe it up and fill yourself. Feel every part of your body radiate with this wonderful, warm, comfortable love energy. From the tips of your fingers and toes to the top of your head, through your entire body, front and back and all the way through. Feel your connectedness to the earth. Feel yourself anchored comfortably and safely to her grounding power. When you feel complete, hold on to that image of your roots in your mind. Know that your roots travel with you always. They keep you connected to earth no matter where you go, but not as an anchor point. Instead, they slide easily along with you as you move, stretching and flowing with you wherever you go. Maintain this feeling of connectedness as you return your awareness to your body. Wiggle your fingers and toes, scrunch up your face, and take a gentle swallow. When you're ready, take a deep stretch. Open your eyes and return to the present moment. Alert, awake, and refreshed. Alert, awake, and refreshed. Journal exercise. Grounding review. Finishing the grounding experiential exercise is a great opportunity to journal how you feel once you've attained a grounded state. What sensations and thoughts occurred during the exercise? Were there any areas of your body that had more stagnation or negative emotions or energy trapped in them? How are you feeling now? Are there any new body sensations? How is that different from how you were feeling before you started the exercise? Did you find any aspects of this visualization challenging? Use these points as inspiration to write out your experience. Reflect on your own grounding and help you with your future practice. Continue practicing grounding throughout this book and throughout your own energy practice in life. The more you do this, the more quickly and easily you will be able to remain protected, strong, and connected to the common reality throughout any energy work you do in the future. If you have not yet mastered grounding or are still feeling challenged or ungrounded, it's perfectly fine to sit with this section for however long you need to before moving on. Grounding is the first essential step on your journey, and how well you plant your foot here will determine your entire future path. Be sure you are confident and grounded before moving forward. Book 5, Chapter 2. Cleansing. Cleansing is a term used for the removal of unwanted and negative energy from objects, places, and living things. This is not to be confused with cleaning, which is the actual physical removal of dirt, although the methodology is often quite similar. The second most important step in psychic work after grounding is learning to properly cleanse yourself, your workspace, your home, and anything or anyone else that you're working with. It's very easy to accumulate junk doing any amount of energy work at all. Sometimes even simply existing as an empath in society can leave you with piles of other people's crap stuck in and on you. When you pick up these junk energies, it can quickly leave you feeling drained, depressed, anxious, and overwhelmed. Whenever I start feeling exhausted and out of sorts without an obvious reason for my own life, I quickly check in on whether I've been cleansing enough recently, because it's pretty likely that I've picked up some energy that's draining me. There are as many ways to cleanse and remove this junk energy as there are people doing energy work, so I'll just try to list a few that I have come across in my own work to give you a place to start. Here's a list. Smudge and incense, either loose or stick, feathers, stones and crystals, salt, water and washing, sunlight and moonlight, elemental cleansing, cleansing with channeled energy from your hands, draining through your roots. You can refer back to the growing roots grounding exercise in the previous chapter. White light cleansing. This is the other half of the same grounding exercise. Please continue listening for full explanations of each of these cleansing methods. Smudge. Smoke and incense have long been used for cleansing in a variety of historical traditions. Smudging is the name of the tradition of the North American First Nations, who use smoke from specific herbs to cleanse energies and send prayers to the spirit realm. In this tradition, there are 4 sacred medicines: tobacco, cedar, sweetgrass, and sage. The white or buffalo varieties of sage are the most commonly used. For personal cleansing and protection, sage is burned in an abalone shell, which is a large half-clam shell, and the smoke is used to cleanse the head, eyes, ears, throat and mouth, and heart in order to know, see, hear, speak, and feel/know the truth, respectively. This is all about finding truth. This ceremony represents using all of the elements to connect to the spirit realm. The shell represents water, the herbs and ash are earth, the smoldering is fire, and the smoke represents the element of air. The smoke from sage is particularly cleansing, and in native tradition, when the smoke transitions from being visible in our realm to disappearing from our sight, it carries our prayers to the spirit realm and transmutes any energies that need to be removed. In some traditions, a feather will be used to move the smoke and help remove stuck energies. Continue listening for more information on feathers. In my own practice, I like to combine sage and cedar in my abalone shell for personal cleansing. I recommend trying out a few different smudge methods to see what works best for you. Many pagan traditions, like Druidry and Wicca, also use sage and sage bundles for cleansing, although it's more commonly placed in stone bowls rather than the shell of the native tradition. Other traditions use different smoke techniques to cleanse, such as the incense used in Indian and Catholic traditions. In South America, shamans use a type of smudge wood called palo santo. The end of the stick is lit and then extinguished and allowed to smoke in the same manner as North American smudge, and then the smoke is used in the same way. The stick is then extinguished in a bowl of sand when the ceremony is complete. Each sacred medicine used for smudge has its own properties and energy that may or may not serve your current purpose. Here's a list of the basic types of smudge used in North and South America and the type of energy they bring. Tobacco. This herb is traditionally used as an offering of respect and gratitude. In ceremony, the passing of the tobacco pipe represents a pact and an agreement to speak the truth and have honorable dealings. It is tradition to leave tobacco as an offering of respect and gratitude when you take something from nature, such as finding a feather or harvesting sacred herbs. Sage. As the strongest cleanser and remover of negative energy, sage is one of the foundation herbs in smudging. There are a vast number of garden sage varieties that could be used for mild cleansing work, but unfortunately, after testing out a few, only white buffalo sage was the potent energy cleanser useful in heavier smudging, such as in my clinic or practice locations. Cedar. Another great energy cleanser, cedar is also conveniently found throughout North America and can easily be harvested without strain. It must be dried before use, but smells wonderful while drying. Cedar can also be used in combination with sage for a more broad and deep cleanse. Sweetgrass. This herb is one of the most popular because of its sweet, alluring scent. It's commonly used in smudge blends or burned on its own. Burning sweetgrass brings in a wonderful love light to this space. On the downside, it's not the best cleansing smudge. I call it the Febreze of the energy world. It makes the room feel like nice, light energy on the surface, but underneath the shit is still all there. I recommend using this as part of a blend or using it after cleansing with the deeper cleansing smudge herbs. Palo Santo. This wood is a fantastic energy cleanser and easily removes negative energy from spaces, objects, and people. It can also call in light. If you strongly enjoy this smudge medicine, then you may want to also research other South American psychic and shamanic traditions for more ideas of things that may resonate with your work. Florida water. While this is not burned, and thus is technically not smudge, it's another cleansing method used in South America, either by blessing with symbols drawn on the body using this liquid, or by a shaman blowing a mist of Florida water into areas of stagnation to clear them out. This liquid has a very strong odor that can be tough to remove, sort of like a strong perfume, so keep that in mind when using it on yourself or others before social engagements. Holy water. This is used very similarly to Florida water, so also technically not a smudge, and it's used to bless and protect people and spaces by touch blessing, often with a Christian cross symbol or sprinkling of the water onto objects or into spaces. Incense, stick or resin. Many traditions use incense as a means of cleansing energy. Incense can come in sticks of mixed herbs and spices that are lit and extinguished, or may be burned directly in their original form. Frankincense is a great example and a very strong cleansing resin. When deciding which type of smudge to use, if any at all, always check in with your gut. You will find the path that calls to you. Try smelling different types, as you may be surprised at how one scent soothes and heals you, while another may actually offend your senses. I, personally, do not at all enjoy the smell of Palo Santo or Florida water, but I adore the smell of burning sage and cedar. I have met many people who feel the exact opposite. There is no right answer, only the right answer for you. We're all called by our own energy, traditions, ancestry, genetics, and ties to the land. Your choice in smudge may also change over time, so be sure to check in with your gut regularly. In addition to cleansing people and spaces, smudge can also be used to cleanse objects, especially those that cannot be cleansed by water washing or salt, such as feathers and porous stones. Simply pass the object through the column of smoke several times with intention until the energy feels lighter and cleansed, or you can waft the smoke across the object using your hand or a feather to the same effect. Smudging spaces larger than a small room is usually done with a smudge stick or a smudge wand, which is a bundle of dried sage and possibly other cleansing herbs tied into a cylinder shape. The end is lit and extinguished, and the smudge stick is passed around the space and the smudge smoke wafted to cleanse the area. For more detailed information on smudging larger spaces, please continue listening for Cleansing Your Space with Smudge. If you can't smudge because of restrictions in your location on smoke or smells, there are other options available to you. If it's just a restriction on smoke, then you can try Florida water or smudge sprays. If it's all scents that are restricted, you will have to stick to white light room cleansing and maybe holy water, if you have church connections to get some. Smudge sprays are blends of herbs, essential oils, crystal essences in water that can be sprayed around a room to help break up stagnation and remove negative energies. There are a wide variety of smudge sprays available for purchase and endless recipes that you can find online for making your own. No matter how you smudge or what you use, it's important to do it regularly and to make a habit of it in your life. Just like cleaning your space, cleansing can't be done once a year with the hopes of staying on top of things. How often you smudge will depend upon the amount of use of the item or the room and the intensity of the energy present during its use. Keeping yourself and your space clean and light will go a long way to keeping you feeling good and balanced in your practice and in your life. Feathers. As with smudge, the tradition of using feathers for cleansing is strongly rooted in many First Nations cultures. Feathers have the symbolic energy of the birds they come from, and we can use certain feathers for specific functions in our energy work. Because our use taps into the energy of the feather, it's essential that each one be harvested with honor and respect. Collecting naturally shed feathers is fine, as is collecting feathers from birds that have already died. In First Nations tradition, you must leave an offering of tobacco or anything else sacred to you at the place where you pick up your feather, especially if the animal is deceased. If you can honor the animal and bury it with respect, please also do so, with an offering and your prayers. This helps to keep the energy balanced and flowing well. Typical feathers used for Smudge and the energies they bring are as follows. Eagle. I list this only as a matter of respect, as eagle feathers are illegal to own in North America, even if you found your own. You need the explicit approval of the local First Nations elders or leaders. This is the most powerful feather and is gifted to very few people as a great honor for use in their healing and vision psychic work. If you find yourself in possession of an eagle feather without permission, contact your local reserve for instructions on what to do. This law was put in place to protect eagles from poachers and illegal trade in feathers. Please, please respect it. Painted eagle feather, otherwise known as chicken feather. Despite its fancy name, this is often a chicken feather dyed or painted black or dark brown at the tip to symbolize the eagle feather, while remaining legal and protecting the sacred eagle. For wafting smudge smoke, this type of feather is perfectly fine. The energy of the chicken is fertility, mother and child, and sacrifice. The intention of aligning it with eagle energy brings in some of the power and insight of the eagle as well. Always keep these energies in mind when using it for more direct energy clearing in the absence of smudge. Turkey. This is probably the most common feather to find for sale in commercial smudge kits. Wild turkey feathers are also commonly found in rural areas where I live. Turkey energy is that of giving no matter the cost, even giving up one's own life for the greater good. Think of your Thanksgiving turkey. I find this feather's energy particularly useful with people pleasers who constantly give to others without taking the time to care for themselves as well. It helps to rebalance that energy and to clear the need to excessively give. It's also useful for workaholics, which is a similar energy. The quote I use to remember this is, "Turkey, turkey, too much worky." Goose. A common feather to find in Canada is the Canadian goose feather. I myself have found several of these in the past few years while swimming, hiking, and even in my own backyard. The symbolism of the goose is finding one's true path or true north. It can be used to help remove obstacles blocking us from finding or following our soul path. Owl. One of the more rare feathers to find is an owl feather. It's said to be the quote-unquote night eagle and often aids in visions, clear sight, particularly of the shadow or dark energy and of things that people are deeply hiding, often even from themselves. It can also be used to help bring to light and sometimes to heal some of these energies. Pheasant. This is another feather commonly found for sale in North America for use in smudging. The symbolism of this feather is family, fertility, sexuality, and magic. It can help sweep away stagnant energies associated with family, sex, and fertility, and to clear the way for healthier relationships and new beginnings. Seagull. While this feather was not typically used for smudging in the past, it's one of the most accessible feathers worldwide, and may be more useful in the current climate. The energy of seagull is freedom, resourcefulness, and adaptability. Seagulls remind us to be discerning about what we believe. The fun quote for this is, "Don't be gullible." They also promote us to speak our truth loudly and freely. This is useful for those who constantly filter and judge themselves. Crow. The energy of crow is creation, magic, and intelligence. This type of feather is useful in those hoping to manifest their desires and to appreciate the magic of the world around them once more. As an example, this would help with depression. Because of its dark color, crow feathers can also help to break up negative energies. There are as many different types of feather that you can use as there are birds in the world. You can research the symbolism of each type of bird using a wide variety of resources, such as a simple online search, or by referring to a fantastic book by Ted Andrews called Animal Speak. The only restrictions are the ability to access the feathers, respectful harvesting, and protection of the species. No birds should ever be harmed when harvesting feathers, with the exception of food birds who are respectfully killed and honored. This is a sacred rule and affects the energy of the feather. Be mindful where you get your smudge supplies. It's actually very common for the feathers and other supplies that you need to come into your life naturally when it's time. As I mentioned above, goosewing feathers come into my life pretty regularly, as do wild turkey tail feathers. My very first smudge feather was a goose feather that bopped off my nose when I was swimming in Lake Simcoe many years ago. I find it funny now to think of how perfect the timing was, because during that time I was finding my way onto my own soul path. Now as they enter my life, I know they are reminders that my work is to bring others into alignment with their soul paths as well. So when you find your feather, sometimes it's a lesson in the moment, and sometimes it's a lesson for life, or both. Manifesting a smudge feather for yourself. It can be a fun exercise to manifest your own smudge feather into your life. My only caution is to be very careful about how you word your request. For instance, I have a friend who focused on attracting 3 large smudge feathers, please, without any further detail. A short time later, her partner accidentally hit a large bird on his way home, killing it instantly. She was driving behind him and felt so terrible that she stopped and left an offering with the bird, but didn't take any feathers. When they got home, her hubby had 3 large, perfect smudge feathers wedged in the grill of his car. So if you're putting a request to the universe, please be specific and ask for a good quality, naturally shed feather from a blank type of bird for smudging within the next blank weeks. Adding a timeline to your request can help get things moving, but please keep in mind that if you ask for a goose feather in the next 3 minutes, you may just get a picture of one on TV because that's the best the universe can provide in the time allotted. Be realistic in your requests. Feathers of non-local or non-seasonal birds may take a little work, so giving a requested window of time will increase your chances of success. The more you are flowing on your path, the less time it will take for your request to be answered. I like to think of this as the universe trying to find your forwarding address for your mail, because you're not yet where you're supposed to be. The closer you are to where you're meant to be, the faster your mail arrives. Other uses for feathers. Once you start using feathers for smudge, it's common to begin using them for other tasks as well. Outside of wafting smudge smoke, feathers can actually move and break up energies just with their own power. As a fun exercise, try playing with any feather you can ethically get your hands on using the practical exercise that follows. Practical exercise. Sensing energy with a feather. This exercise requires a feather. Any one that is large enough to allow you to feel wind resistance will do. If you cannot find a feather in your area and your manifested one hasn't appeared yet, you can visit www.findingyourgifts.ca to find smudge supplies available for purchase. Once you have your feather, find a space that contains a variety of surfaces, objects, and even people if possible, to get a feel for how their different energies affect the feather. If you have limited access to others, you can always just check your own aura and perhaps 1 or 2 objects in the room with you, or even different areas of the space within the same room. The trick to sensing energies with a feather is how you hold it. Keep a very loose grip on the quill of the feather, the hard base without the fluff on it, with just enough tension so it does not fall from your loosed fist as you waft it. I form a sort of cone with my fist where my pinky and ring finger have a more tense grip holding the feather in my hand, while my other fingers just form a loose ring within which the feather is free to bounce around a bit. The more you play with this, the easier the grip will come. Before you begin, make sure that you are grounded and centered. Take a few slow, deep breaths and bring your attention and awareness to what you are about to do. When you feel ready, get a nice loose-fisted grip on your feather and pick a surface, person, or space to sense first. I often recommend beginning with open air. Gently waft the feather back and forth in front of you to get a feel for the resistance of the air in the room. Once you have a feel for how the feather moves through the air, try gently wafting it past your other arm, about 1 to 6 inches from your skin. And then next you can try your legs. Then try any other objects in the room to see what the resistance feels like a few inches from their surface. I particularly like trying this on people, as you can often sense changes from different areas on the same person, which for me helped give my science mind peace that it wasn't just the different surface dynamics of different objects changing the wind resistance. Yes, I'm a geek. Be careful not to actually hit your skin or the surface you're wafting past with the edge of your feather, as this will damage the feather and wear the edge over time, causing it to split and lose function. Feathers are delicate and do not take to physical wear well. There's no need to touch the objects, but only to get a sense of the energy field surrounding them. Most living energy fields extend 1 to 2 feet, which is 30 to 60 centimeters from the body, so you don't need to be too close to pick up changes. As you perform the exercise, here are some questions to ask yourself and maybe journal about. Do you feel any changes in the resistance of the feather over different surfaces? What scents do you get from each? Are some areas thicker than others? Do some feel more slippery? It's absolutely fine if you cannot feel any difference, as this is a skill that has developed over time, and/or may not be a skill set that you require for your particular psychic work. If you did feel a change, you may have noticed that some objects or people have a greater resistance surrounding them. I found in my own practice that a patch of resistance corresponds to stagnant energies that I can also sense in other ways. A really fun thing to try next is to break up the stagnation with the feather and then feel the difference afterwards to see if the thickness is gone. For this part, you'll want a much firmer grip on the feather so it doesn't slip out of your fingers. Return it to the place where you felt greater resistance, but this time, quickly swish the feather back and forth over the area as though sweeping the blockages away, while you hold the intention and thought that you wish to remove the stuck energy. Finish with a few more quick, long, sweeping downward strokes to fully remove the stagnation and draw any remaining bits away from the person or object. Once you've completed cleansing the area with the feather, recheck how it feels with your loose grip and gentle wafting past the same area. Is the resistance gone? If so, well done. If not, don't worry. Either way, you can continue to play with the feather to further develop your skill. If you never get results with this, then it's obviously not the cleansing method for you. If you do sense with the feather, then enjoy this new method as often as you like and consider incorporating it into your toolbox for the future. Stones and crystals. There are a number of different crystals and stones that are useful for cleansing and rebalancing energy. I've not found any single crystal useful for total cleansing of the physical and/or auric bodies all at once. Instead, several different stones may be placed on key points on and/or around the body to help cleanse and rebalance during an energy treatment, or while lying quietly in stillness for a short time. This is both an art and a skill that you can dabble in as an add-on to your practice, or you can become a crystal healer and specialize in using stones to bring healing and balance to your clients. Certain crystals have affinity to particular chakras. When you are new to this territory, it's easiest to choose the stones and crystals according to color at first. For the most part, the color of the crystal will correspond to the color of the chakra it can best help. See our chakra chapter for more information on which colors go with which chakras. Obviously, as with all other things, trust your gut above all else when choosing the correct crystals for you. I usually tell people to close their eyes and sense how the stone makes them feel, rather than choosing based upon which ones are attractive to look at. For some basic ideas of which cleansing crystals to use, I will read from a list below. For more information, a simple internet search can bring a lot of info, as can a wide variety of the crystal books available. Cleansing and protection stones. Stone. Kyanite. The appearance is blue-gray, blue, dark green, or black, depending on the base color of the stone. Its use is for cleansing and absorbing negative energy. It's very useful in self-cleansing. The chakra it's associated with is throat. Obsidian. Solid black in color, it's used for grounding, cleansing, clearing anxiety, and negativity. The chakra association is root chakra. Quartz. This is a clear and/or white and sparkly crystal. It's used for amplifying energy and connecting to psychic abilities. The chakra associated is the crown chakra. Selenite. White with striations of sheen. It's fragile when unpolished. Cleansing energy, self-clearing, absorbing negative energies and entities. It's associated with the crown and third eye chakras. Tiger's eye. This is brown with gold striations and is used for grounding and cleansing. It's associated with the root chakra. Tourmaline. Black with rough edges. Also comes in several other colors. It's used for cleansing and absorbing negative energies. Associations with the root. Tourmalinated quartz. Clear or white quartz with black tourmaline filaments inside. This is a strong shielder and very protective. It creates a bubble of protection around anything it's in contact with. It's associated with crown and root chakra. Interestingly, you can actually use the self-cleansing stones to also cleanse other stones. As an example, I cleanse my energy jewelry by hanging it on my selenite lamp at the end of the day. I also leave a selenite palm stone in with my unused pendants to help keep them cleansed and ready for the next use. Cleansing with salt. While it usually isn't practical to bathe your entire body with salt unless you live near the Dead Sea or the ocean, having some coarse salt on hand to cleanse your stones and other objects can be invaluable. When cleansing objects with salt, you just have to be mindful of the corrosive nature of this substance. Do not place metals, organic material, or porous rocks onto loose salt, as they may become tarnished, damaged, or destroyed. For these, it's better to find alternative methods of cleansing or place them on a glass plate or dish and then put the dish onto a bed of salt. This is how I used to leave my treatment stone collection when it was not in use, before I switched to the sunlight and moonlight methods, which I will explain in further chapters. It's also important to note that if you will be leaving your salt bed for longer periods of time, to line the underneath of them with plastic or another dish. The same is true of salt lamps. This is a lesson hard learned by me. When salt is left to its own devices over a period of time, the length depends on the local humidity, it will begin to osmotically draw water out of the air. Over time, this can develop into quite a pool that can damage your furniture and become a sticky mess on your stones. I definitely do not recommend hanging your energy jewelry on a salt lamp for cleansing because of this problem. Sunlight and moonlight. My current favorite way to cleanse my work stones and crystals is to leave them on a windowsill nearby for a few days with the intention of allowing the sun and the moon to cleanse and remove any unwanted energies, as well as charging them with positive energy for future use. There are a number of different beliefs when it comes to cleansing with the energy of the sun or the moon, with some people believing that sunlight and moonlight only work with particular stones, or that it must be done for a certain amount of time, or during a particular phase of the moon. An example is that waxing moon will fill the stones with energy, and the waning moon will pull out unwanted energy. Other people are more relaxed with their solar and lunar cleansing, simply leaving the stones exposed in a window. Maybe you prefer structured rules and resonate with specific guidelines, or maybe you resonate with a more casual approach. As I say with everything else, trust your own gut to find the truth for you. Water and washing. Water is one of the most accessible and effective cleansing methods available. The element of water easily moves energy and also naturally transmutes negative energy into positive energy once more. Self-cleansing in the shower. There are so many different ways to use water, but the most important is its use in self-cleansing. While we obviously use water for self-cleaning when we bathe, we can use the same routine for cleansing as well. The only addition required is your intention. While in the shower, you can visualize the water washing away any stagnant or negative energies and carrying them down the drain. Combining this with a simple prayer or meditation can further amplify the cleansing. These are both great ways to set the intention, but any way that works for you will do. Trust your gut. Cleansing with hand washing. Another great way to use water, and my favorite way to cleanse after every session, is simply to wash your hands. Turn on the water and allow it to rinse over your hands while you state your intention to cleanse yourself of negative energies. I often start by thanking my guides and other assisting energies for their help, and then state, I release all energy no longer serving me. Thank you for the gift of love and light. I release you, I release you, I release you. I continue this until I feel as though everything has been released. Sometimes the process of releasing can give me shivers or even make me feel as though I am dry heaving. I recommend repeating your actions and mantra until you feel complete. Please note, the phrase that I use is not something that you need to exactly copy word for word. You need to find your own wording to get the point across, and that when used leaves you feeling light and cleansed afterwards. It's less about the words and more about the intention behind them, so feel free to play with whatever mantra works for you. Bathing for cleansing and grounding. Bathing is another fantastic means of water cleansing. Any full submersion in water can immediately help to remove negative energy from your body. If you can visualize them draining out of you, this will speed up the process. If you don't have access to a river, stream, lake, ocean, bathtub, or hot tub, then simply soaking your feet in water can have the same effect as full body submersion. Once again, it's the intention you set that makes all the difference. Visualizing the energies draining from your feet can also significantly speed up the cleansing process. Plus, soaking in the water has the added benefit of being grounding as well. Cleansing objects with water. In addition to being able to cleanse yourself with water, you can also cleanse other objects. You're only limited by what objects can and cannot get safely wet. I often cleanse my stones by washing them in running water. Please note that some stones are porous and will break apart and dissolve when exposed to water. Obviously, these should be cleansed in other ways, such as the smudge method mentioned before. If you're unsure if you should use water with a stone, then err on the side of caution and avoid getting them wet. Elemental cleansing. Earlier in the book, we had you ponder on your elemental association. If you've not yet discovered your base element or elements, then this may be another opportunity to help you figure it out. If you already figured out your elemental base, then you may find it easier to work with that one. When working with elements to cleanse, you will be calling upon the elements to remove any energies that need to be removed from your hands, your person, or those that have been removed from another person, should you be trained in safe energy work on others. Here are the various elemental forms and how to call on them. Fire. To call on fire, visualize starting a small bonfire and growing it in front of you. See in your mind as the flames grow and expand, or sense with your hands if you are less visually inclined. When you feel as though you have a large enough and strong enough fire, then you can pass your hands through it and watch or feel as any stagnant energies are burned away and transmuted back to light. If you wish to cleanse your entire body, you can visualize a larger bonfire, which you can then step into and allow any impurities to burn away while leaving the rest of your body and protective energy sphere safe and cleansed. Water. Using water to cleanse requires visualizing the creation of a small stream, pool, or pond in front of you. Watch as it expands and fills with cleansing water. When it's ready, you can submerge your hands to cleanse them, or dispose of any energies that you wish, simply by placing them in the water where they will be dissolved and transmuted back to light energy. If you wish to cleanse your entire body, then you can visualize yourself completely submerged in your pond or stream, or you can visualize a rain of cleansing water falling from the sky and washing away any stagnant energies from you and your auric field. Earth. To cleanse using earth, you can visualize a small hole or tunnel in the ground before you. When it's ready, you can dispose of any energies that you wish down the hole, and visualize it being covered with dirt and transmuted back to light energy. To cleanse your hands, you can visualize burying them in the earth and allowing the earth energy to remove and transmute any unwanted energy from you. For full body cleansing, you can visualize laying on or in the earth and allowing all unwanted energy to drain away. Air. Using air to cleanse your energy requires visualizing any unwanted or stagnant energies steaming off you and your body. See the energies form a mist and disperse into the air where they can be transmuted back to light energy. This can be used on specific body parts such as your hands or on your entire body. You can also visualize yourself stepping into a column of air or wind, or standing in a field or on the top of a mountain with a strong wind that blows all unwanted energy away. Practical exercise. Cleansing with your hands. One simple and important skill you can use when working with any of your psychic or magical objects is how to cleanse them with intention using your hands. The first time trying this, I recommend that you use a stone or crystal, as they're often the easiest to sense. You can either pull one from your collection or even head outside to find a stone on the ground that calls to you. For more information on picking a stone and understanding when they're calling to you, refer back to the chapter on gut work. Can't find a stone or none of them are calling to you? No problem. You can use any object that does take your fancy or that you feel may need cleansing. The first step is to sit quietly somewhere with your stone or object set down in front of you, not touching your body. When you've settled in, pause for a moment and take stock of your body. What does it feel like to be you right now? How does your body feel? What emotions are going on? Don't judge or try to change anything that you feel. Just take stock so you have a good baseline reading of you in this moment. When you feel that you have a baseline read on yourself, then we want you to pick up your stone or object of choice. What are your immediate impressions or sensations? Does it make you feel better or worse? Does it create a physical sensation? Do you have any new emotions? Are any of the previous sensations or emotions that you had before changed or removed? Get a feel for what's different now. This may not necessarily be a shift for the better. Because your object is potentially energetically dirty, it may make you feel icky. That's totally okay. We're hopefully going to fix it shortly. Make a few notes on any of the changes that you perceived at this stage. Once you have a physical sense of how your item affects you, then we want you to focus your mind's eye, sense with your hands, or look with your actual eyes to see if you can get the impression of any ick or yucky energy present. Maybe you'll see black tar or smoke, or maybe it feels hot or cold, rough or smooth. If you don't get any impression, then ask to be shown the energetic negativity on the item in a way that you can understand and wait for something to come through. If nothing comes through, that's all right too. Often you can cleanse an object of negative energy without knowing exactly what it is that you're removing. It's far more important that you focus your intention on the idea of what you're intending to do, even if you're not sure exactly how it will happen just yet. When you feel ready, hold the item in the palm of one hand and lay your other hand over top. Focus your intention on removing any negative energy and follow one or more of the following cleansing ideas I will list now. You can send love and or light out from your palms so it penetrates and shines through the item, carrying away or destroying the negativity. See the chapter on cleansing with white light for more information. Visualize a force field that passes through the item in all directions, top to bottom, left to right, right to left, bottom to top, and that zaps the negativity or pushes it out of the item. Alternatively, you can create a vibration from your palms that breaks apart the negativity. Or you can cleanse your item using the element of your choice. You can refer back to the elemental cleansing chapter for more information. Repeat your cleansing method, or a few different ones, until you feel that you have completely cleansed your item, and then once again lay it in front of you. Take a moment to cleanse your hands to remove any unwanted energy you may have picked up in this cleansing process. You can either get up and wash your hands physically at the sink, using your mantra of choice. You can smudge them, or you can use your elemental cleansing method of choice to cleanse your hands as well. We want to make sure that you don't accidentally pass negative energy back to the newly cleansed object, or worse, to have it affect you later on. Once you feel that your hands are completely cleansed, return to your seated position and once again take stock of what it feels like to be you in this moment. When you feel comfortable that you know your new baseline, then pick up your cleansed item and see how it feels to you now. If your item makes you feel better, feel free to carry it with you for as long as it continues to be rebalancing for you. You can think of this like making a new friend. Don't worry if your item no longer calls to you and doesn't feel like it's meant for you anymore after cleansing. Sometimes items call to us so we can cleanse and restore them, and then our duties are done and we can restore them to nature, pass them along to someone else, or put them aside and wait until we resonate with them again. Trust your gut to know which is the correct choice for you. Questions for thought and for journaling. What did your original baseline state feel like at the beginning? Did you notice a difference after cleansing? What did you feel from the item before and after? Does the item make you feel better, worse, or no different at the end? Did you get any other impressions during this exercise about your object? If your item made you feel better or worse, you may want to look up the symbolism of your stone or object to better understand why. There may be a lesson in your experience. Book 5, Chapter 3, Protection. I cannot stress strongly enough the essential importance of protecting yourself properly when working with energy. When I reflect on my own path, I'm often amazed that I was never taught energetic protection. I had training in a few different energy modalities, but no one ever told me that I could pick up energy, emotions, or other problems in my travels. I happily skipped along in ignorance and slowly became bogged down with ick until I lost the passion for practice. I became so overwhelmed that I felt burnt out and exhausted almost all of the time. Nowadays in my practice, I often meet practitioners who are afraid to practice, who don't feel they can keep up with their work any longer. You don't have to be an energy worker to experience this sort of problem. Many people are natural empaths and pick up other people's emotions without even trying. We feel overwhelmed in large groups of people and can even express the suppressed emotions of those around us as though they're our own, without realizing what we're doing. This can be very confusing, burn you out, and make you afraid of social situations and interacting with people. Both of these cases are reasons why good boundaries and energetic protection is essential. The first two steps in protection are grounding and cleansing, so make sure you've mastered those chapters before moving on. Each step is necessary to get the end result that you desire. Once you're well grounded and have shed any unwanted energy, there are many different ways that you can use to energetically protect yourself. Some examples are auric shielding, symbols, creating protection bubbles, stones and crystals, herbs and essential oils, salt, smudge, praying to a higher power, calling on guides and angels, or visualization. Ultimately, it always comes down to belief. You have to know deep down in your heart or belly that you are safe and protected for it to be true. All of the shielding exercises and supports in the world won't protect you if you believe it's all a load of hogwash. On the plus side, usually if you don't believe the protection stuff works, then you don't believe in energy work at all, so there's much less chance for it to affect you anyway. If you're feeling unsure about whether you can protect yourself properly, continue listening. In the following sections, I will go through some ideas for protection in more detail to help you try out different options to see what resonates with you and makes you believe that you are safe. Experiential exercise. Auric shielding meditation. White light rinse and shielding. Once you have fully returned to the present moment, you can take some time to journal out your experience. Some journaling ideas are: what was your shield made out of? Were there any parts of your body that you had trouble cleansing? And do you feel any different now that you're shielded? Take some time to reflect, and when you're ready, continue on with the audiobook. Symbols for power and protection. Needless to say, symbols is another massive topic to cover, and there are entire series of books dedicated to this subject. There's absolutely no way I can do any justice to listing all of the symbols out there, or the vast number of faith systems in which they may be based. You will find either a set of symbols in your particular faith base, or you will have to accumulate those that resonate with you from a variety of faiths and disciplines. Heck, you can make up your own so long as the intention is clear and your new symbol resonates with your soul truth. Most of us have already been called to our symbols long before we find ourselves on our psychic path. This may be something that you doodle mindlessly when you're bored, or something that you're always attracted to when out shopping, and so on. It's generally not an animal or insect, although those have separate meaning that I will cover in future books. It's often so obvious that we overlook it as just a fact of our lives. As an example, I did a personal spiritual drawing class trying to connect with my sacred symbols, and my mom decided to come with me. As the symbol was revealed slowly to me, I was so deep and focused in my mind and said, I think it may be a star, a shiny yellow star. And my mom started laughing loudly. I broke out of trance and looked at her full of confusion, and she said, "Really, Katy? A gold star?" and began cracking up once more, at which point I joined her. It's a running joke in my marriage and my family that I am easily rewarded with gold stars, which began as a grade school success thing, but grew huge from there. It's childish remnants of my overachiever ways, but my husband actually went out and bought sheets of gold star stickers and gives them to me sometimes just to make me smile. They're stuck on most of my personal items at this point. It was such a part of my everyday life that I never thought it could have been a protection symbol or a power symbol for me. Take a few minutes to meditate or focus your thought with the intention of coming to know your power symbol and see if an image comes forth for you. Be patient and try to keep an open mind. It's often not the symbol that you think you'll see. If you're still unsure, here are some commonly used warding or protection symbols that you're likely already familiar with. The Christian cross. This is a bottom-heavy cross with a shorter horizontal stick than the vertical one. It's a strong warding and protection symbol within or outside of a religious context. The Celtic cross, otherwise known as the Four Directions. This is an even-sided cross with all arms being the same length, surrounded by a circle. This can also be the four elements or four directions symbol from First Nations tradition if you visualize each quadrant filled with their respective colors: white, red, yellow, and black. It can also represent the cycle of life and the seasons, or a compass, the four directions. Infinity symbol. The infinity symbol is a continuous line in the shape of a horizontal figure 8. It represents continuity and this life in connection with the afterlife. It also contains an X in the center that can be protective and repel unwanted energy. Pentacle. This is a 5-pointed star drawn without lifting the pen from the page, and the top point is directed upwards. It's often depicted inside a circle as well. This represents the connection of earth and sky and integration of the male and female aspects of the divine energy. Spiral. This symbol can be clockwise, right turning, or counterclockwise, left turning, to change the nature of the energy flow. It can bring energy in or pull energy outwards depending on the direction of the spiral. This represents expansion or concentration depending on the direction as well. You can use the left-hand rule from electromagnetism and physics to remember this. Make a thumbs up with your left hand and then turn your hand so the curled fingers match the spiral. The direction your thumb points is the direction the energy moves. Trust your gut as to which spiral direction to use in each situation, as some people have reversed polarity and the rules will apply backwards in those cases. Heart. This is a common starter symbol as it's accessible to most faith bases. It represents love and affection. Love is the base energy of the universe, the divine, God, oneness, so this is a great symbol for tapping into the universal love as protection. Yin-yang, or yin-yang. This represents the balance between dark and light, and the small piece of the dark in any light, and the small piece of the light in any darkness. It's a balancing between the masculine and feminine energies, and originated in traditional Chinese medicine. Square. This represents the four directions, the four elements, security, and completion. Sun, or solar symbol. This represents the light, warmth, male power, and the divine masculine, symbolic of the known aspects of the universe. The crescent moon represents female power and the divine feminine, as well as the hidden power and talents. Think of the shadowed part of the moon that can't be seen when only the crescent is lit. This is symbolic of the unknown aspects of the universe. Circle. The circle represents totality, wholeness, oneness, continuity, the circle of life, the cycle of the seasons, and can be a more simple representation of the sun or solar symbol, or the moon and lunar symbol. Triangle, triquetra, and triskelion. All of these symbols represent the power of three, or the Holy Trinity, depending on your faith base. Both the triquetra and triskelion are Celtic symbols. The three spirals of the triskelion each represents expansion and increased energy, or focused energy, depending on the direction of the rotation. A note on using symbols in your practice. Be very cautious of how you draw each symbol that you use. The meaning of certain symbols can be changed by being drawn upside down or right to left versus left to right. This will change their meaning and can reverse or pervert their original positive meaning. A common example of this that you are likely familiar with from horror movies is where Christian crosses are turned upside down, or a pentacle is drawn with the point facing downwards into the circle, which is a symbol called a pentagram. Both of these are considered symbols of evil, dark energy, and the demonic or dark entities. Certain ancient symbols can also be used to help magnify or amplify power. Unfortunately, these symbols have often been misused by fanatics and those in history seeking power over others, which has given them negative energy connotations. One great example of this is the tetraskelion, otherwise known as the swastika, used by German soldiers in the World Wars. Out of respect for those injured and oppressed by the groups misusing these symbols, and because this mass use for negative energy purposes has tarnished their energy in present times, I recommend that you avoid using these types of symbols in your energy practice. Maybe one day they will return to love and light, but for now they're associated with pain and destruction. Protecting your home or practice space with bubble forming. As you continue your work with energy, you will find a greater need to add layers of protection to the spaces that you frequent. I'm not sure if this is due to increased sensitivity or an increased drawing of the ick energy, but it's something that you'll likely notice as time goes on. In the same way as you bubble yourself, it can be beneficial to bubble your home, car, workplace, practice space, and so on. Once again, it's the power of visualization that will help you here, along with a firmly held intention. To begin, you can visualize a large bubble in whatever material, color, or iridescence that works for you. Visualize it encompassing your entire property. I like to draw power symbols in each corner of my property, as well as some down each side, one in the air above and one under the earth below. I then connect these points with a grid-like spherical shield that eventually fills in with iridescence, sealing my entire property in a bubble above, below, and on all sides. It doesn't have to be a perfect sphere, it just has to cover the entire property. I'm sure that mine's been influenced by various science fiction TV shows that I've seen involving shielding, and yours may come together completely differently. It's not how we get there, so long as we do get there in the end. Once my property is shielded, I connect that shield to the divine energy, using that energy to reinforce the power of my shield on an ongoing basis. You could equally tap into ancestor energy, earth energy, or any other that calls your soul truth. You just want to be sure that your intention is focused on finding some way of holding the shield in place even when you're not directly thinking about it. Next, I move my attention to my home. Because my practice is in my home, I'm careful to protect both very well and also to separate the energy of the two spaces. First, I coat my entire home in liquid mercury or melted metal so it appears to be coated in liquid mirror. I'm careful to coat below the foundation and cover every part of the surface of my house. I also coat the floor and walls between my clinic and my home to keep the energies separate. Mirror energy simply reflects any incoming energy back the way it came. This helps to hold the white light energy in the spaces that I've cleansed and prevents any unwanted incoming energies or cross-contamination between spaces. When my shield is in place and reinforced, I finally coat it with a camouflage black mesh that dims the radiance of the light and makes it less of a beacon. Bright, shiny things draw other energies. You can see the chapter on light and dark for more information. And I want to keep my space a nice, protected bubble. Once all of my shielding is in place, I begin my white light cleansing and smudging as needed. With my smudge stick, a crystal, or my finger, I trace the edges of windows, doors, grates, vents, fireplaces, TV screens, and mirrors, and draw warding symbols on each to seal them as well. Each of these openings can act as a portal of entry for energy, so sealing them with love and light is essential. With my intention, I know that any negative energies trapped inside will easily pass out or will be dissolved away and will not have the same reflecting effect from my mirrored boundaries. In many traditions, they prefer to cleanse first, sometimes even leaving a window physically open in the space to allow negative energy free escape, and then they put up boundaries to protect and shield afterwards. Trust your intuition to know what works best for you. You can bubble other spaces as well. You can also apply this type of shielding to your car by drawing symbols on each corner as well as on each window and above and below to form your protective bubble. For extra protection, I like to put symbols on each of the seats to protect occupants in the car as well. Play around with shielding and protecting any objects or places that you wish. You can never have too much protection. Crystals for protection. There are a variety of stones and crystals that can be used for protection in the energy world. While some stones are traditionally used in this manner, as with everything else in this book, please trust your own intuition even if the stone that resonates with you isn't commonly used for protection by others. Some examples of commonly used protection stones in alphabetical order are black tourmaline, fluorite, hematite, jet, kyanite, labradorite, obsidian, selenite, smoky quartz, and tourmalinated quartz. Many traditions use single stones for protection, either worn on the body or laid in a sacred space with the intention of protection. One tradition of using crystals for protection is called crystal gridding, where stones are placed in particular patterns and positions to create an energetic field that can be used for manifestation or for protection. Stones can be placed on a cloth or paper template, or can be laid at specific positions in a room to create the desired effect. The full depth of forming a crystal grid is well beyond the scope of this book, but if this resonates with you, I encourage you to seek additional learning in this area. In truth, any stone can be used for protection, so long as the proper intention is present for its use. We will go into more detail in future chapters on how to use your intuition to pick the right stone for you. Stay tuned for more information. Herbs and essential oils for protection. There is a diversity of traditions with a large variety of different ways of using herbs and their extracted essential oils for energetic protection. In some religious practices, anointing oils are used on energy centers of the body or on sacred places to bring energetic protection. Some examples of herbs and essential oils used in protection are sage, cedar, sweetgrass, lavender, frankincense, juniper, mugwort, which is also called moxa in traditional Chinese medicine. The way each herb is used depends on its energy and on your traditional roots. Some herbs are worn in satchels on the body, sprinkled, or placed in a sacred area in your space, or burned to release their energy. Trust your gut and see the gut section for information on how to do this, on the best way to use each herb in your practice. A note on essential oils. While they are very portable and easy to use, essential oils are an extraction from the herb and are not as potent as the full herb itself. When working with more intense energy, I recommend using the full herb wherever possible. Smudge for protection. Smudge can be used for protection as well as cleansing. It's only the intention that changes the effect. Please refer back to the chapter on smudging for more information on using smudge effectively. Salt for protection. Are you unsure about your bubble visualization and power of intention just yet? Are you nervous that you're not having the protective effect you hope for? That's totally normal and okay. Maybe you want to start by using a more physical representation of protection to give your mind and intention something more solid to focus on. One simple physical protection is to simply put a ring of salt around whatever you are trying to protect. Just like you see in the movies, putting an unbroken line of salt at doorways and windowsills can help to ward off negative energy and keep your home protected. For more subtle ways of doing this, I like to put salt across the tops of doorways or windowsills so people don't see it and it's less likely to be disturbed. I've also put it into a series of taped together straws in a draft stopper for a door in my basement as a fun way of incorporating salt without the mess. When I first moved to my new home, I was guided by a shaman to salt, bless, and claim the entire perimeter of my property, to claim it as my own, and to protect it for my future energy work there. This is probably a bit extreme for most of you and wouldn't be necessary, but if you have a practice in your home, it may be something to consider. Just remember, salt will poison the soil where you pour it, making it difficult or impossible for plants to grow. Think of salting the earth. So don't dump a whole bunch in your garden or at the base of a tree when you're sealing your property. Inside your home, salt will osmotically pull water from the air and can damage your floors and window and door casings, so use caution leaving it for long periods in humid climates. Salt is a nice temporary shield or for ceremonial use, but if you want to keep your home and space in good shape, over time you'll want to shift to other protection methods. If you don't feel confident in doing it yourself, then please consider contacting an energy worker near you to help. Spiritual protection. One of the traditions of protection common to most faiths is that of calling on spiritual aid for protection. If your faith base or beliefs resonate with there being a higher power or higher energy beings, then you can call upon their assistance to help protect you during your psychic work. You can pray, meditate, go on a shamanic journey, visit your sacred shrine or place of worship, or perform any other ritual that resonates with you and your assisting energies. The only rule to this is to trust your gut and only use assistance that resonates with your soul truth. What works for one person may not work at all for another. That's why it's essential to honor your own truth. A personal note on spiritual protection and religion. There was a long period during my spiritual journey where I was extremely uncomfortable with the word God. I was raised in a family with Christian roots and had quite a few judgmental and hurtful interactions with people who called themselves Christian. While I understood that these were people passionate about their beliefs, I couldn't understand how people who followed a religion based on love and acceptance could be so judgmental and mean. Because of this, I associated the word God with my perception of that religion and those negative people. It was a word that made me feel negative things and didn't jive with the beauty and love I sensed in the higher power that resonated with me. I bring up this story not to shame Christians for the smaller number in the group who have taken a message of love and deformed it into one of hate, but instead to reach out to those of you with a similar past as mine. Sometimes our past experiences shape our ability to grow onto our soul path, and most of the time we need to heal those experiences to be able to continue on our way. You will notice through the rest of the book that I now use the word God to describe the higher power on occasion, usually when I want a brief and efficient word for whatever I'm doing. So how did I get there? Ironically, it wasn't some deep and focused soul work that got me there, and I most definitely didn't journal my way out of this one. I was blessed enough to come across a demon in my practice, and this interaction forced me to release my preconceptions of God. That interaction was the worst energetic experience I have ever had, and I hope it continues to hold that title for the rest of my life, because I never want to experience anything like that again. There was a twofold lesson in my experience that day. Number one, always close any doors that you open. Number two, God is one badass motherfucker. For those of you interested in this story, continue on with this chapter. For those of you excited to move on to the next step, feel free to skip the rest of this chapter and get rolling on the more psychic work. Katy meets a demon. The story began while I was treating a friend of mine and playing around with some newfound energetic abilities that were developing for me. I opened a portal to call in assisting energies and started my work. We had some fun and learned a few things, and partway into the session, she asked me how her ex was doing. I opened myself and asked the question, and immediately received an answer that I didn't want. In my mind's eye, I saw a man's upper body come through the wall, and it was wearing her ex-boyfriend's face. I don't know how to describe it better than that. The face didn't fit quite right, and the image was disturbing. At the same time as the image appeared, it said, "He's mine," in a deep, gravelly voice. And that was when the sensations hit me. All of a sudden, I couldn't move or even breathe. The best I can describe it is as something dark and evil grabbing my soul. A freezing cold sensation went through my entire body and created pain and terror like I had never experienced. It is still the worst feeling I have ever had in my entire life. I tried to ask my friend for help, but nothing came out of my mouth. I could see her rising panic as she looked at me and said my name over and over and asked if I was okay. At the same time, I could feel myself beginning to lose consciousness. I don't know what triggered the thought, but as I was beginning to black out, I thought, "Please, God, help me." With that thought, it was like something exploded inside of me with warmth and light. I actually felt it burst from my skin and watched as it blew the demon out of the room and slammed the portal shut behind it. It was the most powerful energy sensation I've felt to this day. Once the demon was removed, I was immediately free and able to move once more. I gasped for breath and started sobbing and shuddering so hard, my friend said it looked like I was convulsing. It took me more than 5 minutes to calm down enough to stop dry heaving into the garbage can. Fortunately, when the remains of the trauma passed, It left me with a strong, energetic, godlight afterglow for 3 days following. Another friend of mine, who can see auras, said that mine was golden and radiant during that time. I can still remember the deep sense of peace and bliss I felt for those few days while I remained deeply connected to God love. It made me understand those that choose a purely spiritual path in life. That day was the day I started using the term God freely. As a side note, I'm sorry if you find my story frightening, but please remember you will most likely never experience this type of spiritual event. You will probably learn this type of lesson by journaling through your negative associations and coming to terms with your shit that way. I, on the other hand, am definitely not naturally adept at life. I am what I lovingly refer to as a slow learner in the spiritual world. My life and spiritual lessons have always come to me in enormous Technicolor packages, otherwise they'd pass me by. I like to think my need to learn things the hard way is what makes me a good teacher. You know what they say, those who can't do, teach. Hopefully my idiocy can plow the path for you so you can never need to experience the shit that I shoveled through.